Hi everyone, I'm really excited about the videos that I'm making today because this project has really been fun. I've been making a boho tassel garland inspired by a Pottery Barn Teen tassel garland that I saw. And in this video I'm going to focus on how to make the tassels, and I'll link below, and I'll do a separate video for those of you who are interested in doing this tassel garland. The first thing that you need to do is pick your yarn. You can see here that I picked the Yarn Bee from Hobby Lobby. It's just $3.99 per color with a coupon. It makes it just a little over $2, which is a great price. I like it because it's soft, it's a little bit thicker, and when you shake it, it can really add a lot of volume. Okay, the next thing you need to do is pick out the colors for your tassel. You'll see here I've got this light pink, I've got the white, I've got the light gray, and then here I've already made some of these tassels in the darker gray. Once you get your colors picked out, the next step is to decide what the height of your tassels will be. So you can see here, these are pretty tall tassels. And when I'm talking about the height, I'm talking about this very top part all the way down to the bottom part. And even when you compare these tassels, you can see a difference in that height of, I don't know, about an inch or so. And actually, a lot of people, when they're doing tassels, they make them a lot shorter, you know, right around here, maybe around 5 inches or so. So you really need to figure out the size, because the next thing you have to figure out is what template you're going to use to wrap that yarn around. So you need something the right shape and size that will get you the height that you desire. So this is a DVD case. I think this is a great idea. I like it because it's always easy to get my hands on a DVD case. We've got a whole drawer of them in the basement. You can see here when you look at the tall side of the DVD case, it matches up to this tassel right to the left of it. It's a little bit shorter because when you tie it off and make that top part of the tassel, it does shorten up just a little bit. Or you can turn it to the side and wrap your yarn around the short side, and that would make a much shorter tassel. So it's really a great template that you can use, easy to get your hands on. Now I used this clipboard because I needed 9-inch tassels. So you can see as I put this up to my clipboard template, it's a little shorter. Like I said, when you tie off that top part, it does pull it up a little bit, but this clipboard turned out to be a great template for me to use for the project that I'm working on. Okay, so to make our tassel garland, we simply take the yarn and we're going to wrap it around our template. I always leave a couple inches kind of hanging off of the template just so I can see where my yarn started. And you just wrap it around and around. And as you do this, I don't like to do it too tight, because if you make it too tight, you're not going to be able to pull that yarn off of the template when you're finished wrapping it around. So keep it loose. We're doing 40 times around today. Now I finished my 40 times, I cut the yarn, and then I'm just going to set my template back on the table. Now if you don't like as full of a tassel, you don't have to put quite as much yarn around your template. All right, so looking at this, you'll see I've got some white yarn around, kind of making that top of my tassel. Then I've also got the yarn coming out of the top, because I'm actually going to hang my tassel from something and I need longer string. So determine what color you want to use, and you're going to run it through the top there. I'm going to use white. I'm kind of using 2 times the length of my clipboard just because I want the height. And I'm going to just put that under all of these pieces of yarn. Now you can kind of do that with your fingers, or like I'm using scissors here. Just find your way under all the yarn and pull that yarn through, and then pull it up to the top of the clipboard. Now the thing is you're not going to be able to get a tight tie as long as this is on the clipboard. But I do like to do my first knot, and you can't pull it, you just can't pull it tight when it's on there. Pull it as tight as you can. It's really just there as a placeholder, and you're going to tie it tighter once you get it off of the clipboard. So now that we've got that kind of in place, it's time to scooch our yarn off of the template. So you kind of go back and forth. Again, if you went around that template too tight, you're going to have a really hard time getting this off. Now we did not, so ours should come off pretty easily. Now do be careful when you're pulling this off, because you don't want all that yarn to get mixed up. You still need to have an opening because you've got to make a cut. So I keep my finger in there, and then once I get it off, I like to use something to kind of keep it separated. So for now I'm just kind of pulling it, but I'm going to grab these scissors and just tuck them in there. It's just keeping that loop clear while I tie my knot. So now that it's off the clipboard, I can just do a tight double knot to get that yarn tie off. This is what my tassel is going to hang from. And then once I do that, I just need to pull that up and then get my hand back into that yarn strand so that I can find where the middle of it is. And my scissors kind of help that place for me. And I pull tight just to get all those ribbons, pull tight. And then I put my scissors in there and I pull down like completely in the opposite place of where my top tie is. So pull down while you're pulling up on your white, where your white knot is, and then you just make a really simple cut. And that makes your yarn tassel now ready. If you hold on to the top, you will actually see, all of your yarn should be about the same length because you had a really nice pull and a nice cut. Okay, so next I need to cut off some yarn that I'll use to tie around this top part of the tassel. So I just need to cut some of that yarn off. And then you can see here in this tassel, I like to put several layers of the yarn to tie off my tassel. Some people just might do 1 or 2. I stack mine like maybe 5 or 6 high because I really like the look of that. So I've got my yarn and now I've got to decide how big of a section do I want that top tassel tie off to be. So some people like them bigger like this, maybe 1.5 inches or so. And then in some projects, some people like to make them smaller. So the one that I'm working on now, I'm actually wanting really small sections at the top of my tassel. And so I'm just trying to kind of get my tassel straightened back out. It's always good to kind of comb through it before you tie the top off. And then I'm getting my yarn placed just right so I can have that little top section of a tassel. And when I do it, I'm not actually tying it. I'm getting it placed in the right spot, giving me the right amount of top section, and then I'm pulling tight, and then I've got the 2 strings kind of right on top of each other, and then I'm going to very carefully turn it over and kind of move those the long white strings out of the way, and then wrap that yarn around again, and not right on top of where it was. I'm wrapping it on, either on top of or below the strands of yarn that are already there, because again, I'm trying to build these vertical layers of this white string. So I'm going to turn it again and then get those white long strings out of the way, and then wrap each of the yarn sides around again, just getting one below and one on top of. Pulling tightly, you have to keep pulling it tight as you do it. Now I'm going to flip it again, get that white yarn out of the way, pull the yarn again to make another layer. Now you want to make sure you know how many layers of this yarn you're making at this tassel top so that your tassels will all be very consistent. So I was typically doing about 5 or 6 on each tassel, making that white section about the same. So I've got my final flip here. I'm getting my yarn pulled up, and now it's time to tie it off. So see, I'm doing a simple knot, and I always pull either at the top, here I'm doing it at the top, or on the bottom. It doesn't matter which one, but don't do it in the middle. Either do the top or the bottom. Tie very tightly, and then I'm doing a second knot. And the reason I'm doing it like that is you'll see here, by doing it at the top, it's going to let me tuck it in. So I'm just trimming off the yarn after my knot, not too close to my knot, and then I'll use my scissors and I'll just push that knot underneath that work that I had just done, building that yarn around the top of the tassel. And now you can't even see where it's tied off. And I love it because now there's not a front and a back. The tassel just looks good no matter which side it's tied on. You can't even see that. Just got a couple of steps left here. First, we need to do any trimming. It's very normal when you're making tassels that you'll have a few pieces that might be long. That first string that we left a couple inches long to start, and a lot of times the last one is a little longer. So just take your scissors and give your tassel a little bit of a trim. It doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, the tassels are kind of cute if they're a little different. You just don't want any really long pieces hanging off of them. And then the next thing you need to do is really take a look at your tassel and give it some volume. Now you can see the difference in volume in these two gray tassels. The one on the right has not really been fluffed. The one on the left has. And it's really easy to do this. It's really a matter of just taking that tassel and holding on to the top and shaking and just really loosening up the yarn within the tassel and then scrunching it. So I don't scrunch on the top part. I just grab all the bottom parts of that tassel and just kind of scrunch and crunch. And that's really what's going to give it kind of that wavy look, the volume look, and just make it a lot fuller. And that's it. It's pretty easy to make these yarn tassels. If you found anything in this video to be helpful today, please take just a minute and tap the like button. And if you do DIY projects, that's what this channel is all about, so take a second to subscribe. And just a reminder, if you're interested in learning how to make this Pottery Barn inspired yarn tassel garland, I'm linking the how-to video for that below in the description. Thanks.